Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated. He's an NFL staff writer there, and he seems to be having a little bit of Wi-Fi problems. So we're gonna, uh, keep on going here as live. I'll be on for now until we get Gilbert back on here, but on today's show, as I move along here by myself, we'll get into what is the top storylines for the Rams during OTAs. And so once Gilbert is back, we'll get a little bit more into it in terms of what to look for there. As Gilbert comes right back, and he'll join us as soon as he can. He'll jump on right here. There we go. He's back. Gilbert, just doing the introductions, letting everybody know what they can expect today from this episode of House of Horns. As some of the things that have been going on. I'll get to that as well, Gilbert. But how are you doing aside from your Wi-Fi issues? And we're still having Wi-Fi issues once more with Gilbert. Gilbert just recently moved out to Long Beach, so he's working through his Wi-Fi issues. Gilbert, can you hear me? Are you able to say anything so far?
Keeps spinning around. I don't know.
There we go. We can hear you a little bit, Gilbert. And we're still having technical difficulties, and like I said, we're trying to work through this. We were trying to have a episode the last couple of days, but we've been kind of working through some issues there with Gilbert's Wi-Fi. So as soon as he joins us, like I said, once he gets his thing squared away, we'll get back to the show. But let me just go through some of the things that have been going on with the Rams in terms of some of the news during camp so far. Let me see what we have here in terms of what's been going on through OTAs. You, the Rams expect Matthew Stafford to participate all through camp despite the lack of progress on a contract situation. So there we go. It looks like we are going to have Gilbert back. We'll see if that does it finally. Let's see if we have him back. There we go. Gilbert, are you able to listen? Are you able to
Yeah,
hear?
yeah,
There we go,
I
Gilbert.
got you. But who knows how long it's gonna take before this Wi-Fi craps out on me? So I'll be quick with
All
my
right.
intro.
Yes.
And we have moved, and we got everything from Northridge, and now we're out here in like the Cerritos area. But yeah, we haven't unpacked everything. I don't have a setup. I'm in a blank wall here. I feel like I'm a hostage with bad Wi-Fi. Hey, if you're gonna hold somebody hostage, you don't give them good Wi-Fi. So that's what's going on with me here. So it's been 30 seconds, no Wi-Fi issues, but it's okay. It's a slow part of the off season. Maybe I
Yep.
can afford to get a bad show here, but I already had one a month ago, so maybe that's on me. I'm having bad luck so far with Wi-Fi, but I'm here to get a show done.
Yeah, and we got we're gonna just go through the top storylines for the Rams and minicamp, what they kind of like what to expect, what we're looking forward to, Gilbert. And then in the same situation, just kind of as you did that intro yourself. I've been away. I went to Oklahoma with my wife. We got a little bit of vacation. Now we're back, and then we have our guy Daniel Calderon. He says, "What up, y'all?" So what's going on, Daniel? We're trying to have a show. We're trying to work through some Wi-Fi problems here, but we're gonna keep this nice, sweet and short, Gilbert. So let's just jump into it. I was just saying that in terms of news and notes about what's been going on with the Rams, there's not a lot going on right now. He says Daniel Calderon says Burrs is sounding dominant. So that'll be something we get into as well, Gilbert. But in terms of, there's not a lot of news and notes in terms of the Rams. There's just been Matthew Stafford, and he's gonna participate all through camp while they get a deal done. because of the lack of progress on his contract situation. Gilbert, I don't know if you kind of want to talk about that in terms of your reaction to it.
Yeah, no, that's like, when teams have this low period where you're waiting for mini camp, you're waiting for training camp, you're about to get 6 weeks off. Like, there's no storylines, and like the usually the bigger ones are the contract dilemmas. Like, where the Vikings paid Justin Jefferson, where they got it done with Justin Jefferson. Now it's like, can the Dolphins pay Tua? Can the Cowboys pay CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott? So it's all about contracts right now. And I know the Rams sort of have one with Matthew Stafford, but it's a huge deal that he's still planning to participate. He's been there for OTAs. He's probably going to be there for mandatory mini camp starting Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm pretty sure that's a 2-day schedule there for the Rams. And then take the 6 weeks off and come back for training camp at OMU, right? I keep forgetting where it
Yes.
was. Loyola Marymount. So that's huge. Like, you have your quarterback. Yeah, there's some issues with the contract, but he plans to show up. He was there at mini camp. That usually bodes well for being there at training camp. So you don't want to miss time there. Obviously the Rams offensive line or offense doesn't look drastically different. You still got Puka, you still got Kyron. Obviously you got some some pieces on the offensive line, but with Jonah Jackson. But for the most part, it's a similar core group, and you have your quarterback there to build on year 2 of this core group here with Puka and Kyron. And the new scheme with that they alter with the gap running scheme. So that's important. That's a big storyline that I guess in a sense you're avoiding because there's no hold out or hold in, that which is the case with Tua in Miami right now.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that he's a veteran guy. He knows that also you have a team that is contending and you want to make sure that you're there, you're taking every snap, and another thing that I thought was kind of interesting is that you also have a reliable backup in Jimmy Garoppolo that knows some of this offense. He's been in a similar offense like the one the Rams are running. So that also helps. But in terms of Stafford, it's just good with the fact that he's going through this contract situation and he seems to be okay with working it out and not having to hold out. So that's really good in terms of what's going on with the Rams in terms of the news. But let's get to it, Gilbert, and I'll start off with this in terms of as our engagement question of the day, and that is, what is your top storyline from Rams OTAs and as they go throughout camp? I want to know, from Ram fans, what is the one storyline we'll get into? I sent Gilbert on our rundown. I sent him a bunch of questions here in terms of some of the storylines, and I kind of want to get his reaction to them. So, in terms of the fans, I just want to know, what is your top storyline from Rams OTA? So with that, Gilbert, what is yours before I start asking you about the ones that I had? I had 7 questions for you, but what is yours?
I guess the obvious one is, how does a team replace Aaron Donald? How do you move on from Aaron Donald? How can you make the pieces work without Aaron Donald? And that's an obvious one, and it's a massive one. I'm not gonna knock it, but it's also like an easy one, a tiring one. You've heard it all off season, and when you talk about the Rams, it's always like they're really good, but they're going through that transition year without Aaron Donald. So just to kind of make it a little different, and because I also watched the Rams behind the scenes videos of the draft and seeing how Jared Verse and Braden Fiske reacted when they found out they're going to be playing together again from Florida State to the Rams. That was a good video, so check that out on the Rams YouTube page. But I'm like, man, like they're really, hyping up this whole, chemistry thing. Like our guy Gary Klein said a few weeks back on here on House of Horns, like they wanted that connection to come over to the LA Rams because you do replace Aaron Donald. You have to, that's a task, but you do it with multiple guys and you speed up that process with guys who know each other. Kobe Turner, Byron Young, they know each other. Now Jerry Verse and Braden Fisk know each other. Now it's bringing those four together. So I think that's my storyline. How do the rookies who already have some kind of connection, catch up with the guys who were there last year, who had to learn last year as youngsters? So if you get those four guys to be in sync quickly, that to me removes the but. But what about Aaron Donald? But Aaron Donald's not there. You remove that quickly if those four guys connect, and it starts with the rookies, Verse and Fitz. So that's the one that I think could maybe determine how far the Rams go. I know adding a lot of pressure for the rookies, but again, Aaron Donald is a big, person or shoes to fill, and you can't do it with one guy.
Yeah, and I was watching that behind the draft video that you talked about. I was watching it today. I think they're on episode 2 right now. And I thought, they mentioned it that that was their plan was to um be able to put these two guys together, and they were willing to trade up, even it sounded like at the beginning of the second round. And yes, we said it was a lot for them to give up, but they really wanted to pair those two guys together. And there's a reason why. And now, as Daniel pointed out, that he's been dominating. And one of the funny things that came out of these last couple of weeks in terms of OTAs was that Jerry Verse said he wants to return kickoffs or punts, which I thought, hey, I mean, with the new kickoff rules, why not? And we'll get into it. That's one of the storylines that I have for you, Gilbert. But it just tells you that he's one of those guys that they circled and that they wanted at 19. And then the same thing with Braden Fiske.
Yeah, like in that video alone, you could see why they gave up a 2025 second round pick, and like when you notice that, oh crap, they moved up, they got Fisk, and then you learn about the trade package, and you kind of like, oh man, that's a lot to give up right there, a second round pick. But you see how everybody in that room was together, Lesney, Sean McVay, the salary cap guru, the scouts, everybody was in line with this philosophy. Like, man, you get Jared Verse and you get Braden Fisk. Like, I think the video ended with like Sean McVay saying, like, so what do you do now? Like, you did it, you accomplished it, and they're all nervous to get it done. And when they found somebody to take that deal, like nobody said like, crap, that second round pick next year, that's a whole lot. But like, F it, let's do it. It was more like, you found somebody, all right, get the deal done and get the pick in. So that just shows you that they got who they wanted, or I guess at least the combination they wanted, and that tells you they were in line with the scouting reports. And we saw the video last year of like Kobe Turner, where like Eric was we should pick and it, how much it really it's about uh, that much they
And we're still having some Wi-Fi issues, so bear with us as we continue here with yeah, Gilbert. Sorry about that. I We can kind of see you. You're coming in and out. You're facing in and out here. But as we continue here with the top storylines, we have Daniel Calderon. He says for him it's the O line, and that's one that you have to keep an eye on. You have left tackle and Alaric Jackson, and he's been taking a lot of the snaps, and then to the O line as well. And that's one of the ones that I kind of wanted to talk about here. And as we get Gilbert back in here momentarily, I'll go into it here. And that is Steve Avila making the move to center. I think is a big one in terms of what we can expect from the Rams offensive line. And Steve Avila, last year was really impressive as a rookie, being able to move in from at a position that he had played earlier at TCU, then moving to center towards the latter part of his TCU career. And then he comes to the round, he gets drafted. They need him as a left guard, and he plays really well there. And I thought that was really impressive of him. He played every snap there, and now he makes the move you know, by them, uh, going out and signing Jonah Jackson. I thought was something that I didn't really think about because of the way Shelton Coleman played. I figured that with Shelton Coleman, they would probably would bring him back. Gilbert, I thought for sure that the Rams were going to bring back Shelton Coleman, as I was talking about Steve Avila making the move to center, and they didn't. They went out and they made one of their weaknesses even better, and that is moving Steve Avila to center. Now, so far in OTAs, he's been getting all the snaps, at center, which I think bodes well for them. But what is your thoughts in terms of the Steve Avila making that move to center?
Yeah, I might kind of like pat myself in the back here because when they drafted Steve Avila and I noticed that he had some center experience, I'm like, whoa, that's smart because like if you ever move on from Coleman Shelton or you need or you're hurting, like I just remember that because of 2022 when I covered the team and so many injuries occurred to the offensive line. Like you need guys who are versatile. I'm like, him having that background to play center is gonna pay off. It's gonna allow flexibility. It's gonna allow you to go after guys that you never thought you could go after because he could play that position. So you move him to center. Now, oh, you could get Jonah Jackson, one of the best guards in the NFL out there, and take him away from a team that you face in the playoffs, in the Detroit Lions, and you make them lesser on the offensive line. That paid off. So, like, I had a feeling that's going to come through. I didn't think it's going to happen this soon because I like Coleman Shelton. I think Coleman Shelton's going to do a great job with the Chicago Bears and help out Caleb Williams because Coleman was clutch in 2022 when everybody got hurt and he was able to play guard and center. So, they moved on, but it worked out because you have that protection when Avila being so versatile. And the more you could do as an offensive lineman, the longer you stick around the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that this is something to kind of monitor, but I just want to see how that transition goes. And we'll see more and more. I think where it becomes really important is training camp and then joint practices during the summer. But in terms of preseason, we won't see Steve Avila out there because the Rams don't play any of their starters. So it's just that's why for me it's a storyline because I want to see it. That's when we'll see him. We won't see him during preseason. All right, Gilbert, as we
And real
continue
quick,
here.
Victor,
Yes,
it's also important that Matthew Stafford is in camp despite the
yes.
contract issues because he's working with the new center. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's why he's also in camp as well, as you pointed out. All right, Gilbert, do we continue to get hints of an Aaron Donald return? I mentioned it briefly on Compas on the Beat, and that is there's still a locker room for Aaron Donald at the facility there. We'll see whether, and we continue to see that, there's been the less need hints there. We was on with Rich Eisen. He said, hey, if there's a possibility of Aaron Donald, we'll welcome him back whenever he's ready. We'll see what happens in terms of that. But there's been little hints. There's players talking about it as well. Um, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Aaron Donald in terms of, at what point does he say, hey, um, I kind of want to come back. He's only 32 years old. I was under the impression that once he said, my tank is full, I'm not coming back. That's it for me. Um, there's been hints here and there as we lose Gilbert again, but it's okay. He'll be right back as he's working through some Wi-Fi problems. So we really appreciate everybody's patience. But as I continue here talking about Aaron Donald, as I said, there's been hints not only from Les Need, there's also been hints from McVay. There's been hints from the team as well. Especially with uh, us hearing that there is a locker room for set aside for Aaron Donald. So we'll see what happens in terms of a Aaron Donald return. I am really interested in asking Gilbert at what point, Gilbert, as you come back here, I wanted to ask you with Aaron Donald, at what point or what record do you need to be at in terms of the Rams for Aaron Donald to say, you know what, I'm putting away my flip flops and I'm putting on some cleats here and I'm making a return back to the Rams.
Well, hopefully the Wi-Fi craps out whenever you're talking and not when I talk. It's kind of a weird combination, but it's working out so far, right?
Yeah,
But a long like not a long time ago, but a few months ago when Aaron Donald retired, and I watched that interview with him and his wife, and I'm like, that guy seems content. He's not coming back. Like he has a Super Bowl ring. Like he doesn't have to worry about chasing that. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player, first ballot Hall of Fame, and there's a strong case to be made that he is the greatest defensive tackle in NFL history. What the hell else do you want? Like just to keep playing and enter? Like he's gonna make money too this year, so
right.
I don't know why you would do it. You want to stay with your family and keep the health, but like, hey, like you're when you've been programmed to play football most of your life, and August rolls around, you're like after training camp, like I don't miss training camp, but then say like early September comes around, and it's like, oh, it's about to be week 1. I miss this feeling. Oh, I miss that. I miss that. There's a football season going, and you're not going to the facility on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or traveling with your friends and colleagues to whatever is San Francisco, Arizona, or Seattle. So that itch of not knowing what you're trying to get yourself into as a first time retiree, that could play a factor. So if you're still feeling that like, oh, I missed that, or FOMO kind of feeling, and it's lingering through like, Halloween, and the Rams are like, I don't want to get too carried away, but say that, they're about to get 10 wins, before November or Thanksgiving. That's a good season, right? Like, I know the Eagles started 10-1 last year, or whatever, something dominant like that. We're like, you know what? I'm gonna start training just in case this team needs him, because hey, it'd be nice to kind of have like what Eric Weddle did not too long ago, to help me win a Super Bowl. So I think Aaron Donald will start thinking that way, but it's gonna be like something he's gonna have to keep working his way mentally towards thinking about it. And I think the first step is gonna be when he has like that feeling of missing being around a team. I want to say in September. I don't think nobody misses training camp.
No, and I think that's part of the thing, Gilbert, is that for most players, it's right. They want to, whenever you have a holdout, is I don't want to be in training camp. I want to be able to come in somewhere during the season. And I think for him, it also depends on where they're at. I mean, if they don't come out that first month or month and a half, and the Rams aren't doing well, there's no way we see Aaron Donald. But if they are up to a 6-2 start, 7-3 after 10 games, I can totally see him, saying, you know what, I'm coming out of retirement and I'm going back to the Rams and I'm going to help them win another Super Bowl. But I think that's kind of something I was ready to kind of let it go, Gilbert. But like as I talked about while you were gone, it's like there's so many hints now that I'm just like I have to bring this up because once there's a little bit of smoke, there's got to be some kind of fire there. There's a reason why they're bringing this up, and I just like out of randomly, like Leslie just brings it up on the Rich Eisen show, like, and then there's a locker room set aside for Aaron Donald in case he comes back.
It
Like,
but it reminds me, Victor, of the Odell Beckham thing where, like, after they won the Super Bowl and he was a free agent, he got hurt, and they kept saying, "Here's a locker room for you, Odell."
mhm,
McVay and Steve kept talking about like, "Hey, you're gonna come with us, right?" And it just never happened because obviously Beckham wasn't ready, so that could be the issue. But I do know that Snead and McVay are not shy to talk about it and let them know we like you, we care about you. But at the end of the day, it's all about the player, right? Or even,
right.
are you ready? Is it an injury? But I do get that, because I'm sure McVay and Steve want Donald around because it makes you a for sure Super Bowl contender. That's why we're talking about that but, or that what if. Oh, you need Aaron Donald. We're not sure about the Rams because of Aaron Donald. So, I think Snead and McVay are smart to at least keep your options, right? It doesn't hurt to at least talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then you get a Pro Bowl, Hall of Famer, all that stuff coming back to your team. I mean, and you drop that on a team that has all these, exciting players that we assume are gonna mesh and they're gonna do well at the beginning of the season. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on, Gilbert. All right, let's move on here, Gilbert. And AMS, we'll get to your question. I just want to get through because of the technical difficulties that we keep having. I want to make sure we get through all these storylines. All right, Gilbert. So does rookie kicker Joshua Cardi look the part? Like, what do you think? Do you like? Is this something to kind of keep an eye on, or do you feel like, hey, he'll be okay?
Yeah, you definitely have to keep an eye on it. Like, when I was I guess a beat reporter for Raiders, Rams, and Chargers, I always liked the seasons or the teams that had an established kicker, because you didn't have to worry about the kicker when they were kicking field goals. You kind of like go sit down, get away from the sun, take a break, drink water, or whatever. But when you have a kicker that you're not sure about, you have a kicker competition. You got to bring out that notepad and start keeping track who's making the field goals, who's not in practice. It's kind of like annoying, but you have to, like, because it's a competition or somebody you're not sure about. So it's definitely is going to be a big storyline to see how the rookie kicker Joshua Cardi for the win. Remember that,
Yep.
if he gets it done. So, and the first sign is going to be in camp. Obviously preseason is going to be a big deal. So that's something that I'm planning on being out there for mandatory mini camp. I don't know which day, or maybe 2 days. But if he's out there kicking, I'm gonna try to keep tabs on it and see, okay, how far is that one? Is that a 35 year, 45, whatever? Did he make it? Did he shank it? and I'll let you guys know. But that's something you definitely got to keep track of because, like I mentioned last year, like if you have a team that has big goals and you're going to be in these playoff games, intense pressure, clutch moments, you better have a kicker who's making field goals. And I know that Harrison Butker got in trouble, but he's still with the Chiefs because he makes freaking field goals. So
Yeah.
it gives you a sigh of relief, and you need somebody like that. With a rookie, you definitely got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and I mean, I just kind of want to see how he looks. I know that I saw a picture out there of him kicking. And we'll get to it. That'll be my next question. And how do they use him? And I already have an answer from what I've been able to gather from the beat reporters in terms of how they plan to use him during kickoffs. And I'll get to that because that'll be the next question. But in terms of the field goals, you're right. I want to see him make some. But one thing too, Gilbert, is we won't know. This is where it's kind of the opposite, where we talked about earlier in terms of like Steve Avila. How is he going to look? Playing going back to center, and I think for him it's going to be more during training camp and then joint practices. For Cardi, his thing is going to be during preseason games. It won't be, it's not going to be during it's not going to be during training camp, or because he's not going to face real life situations. So I think that's going to be important for him. But I still want to see, as you talked about, if you are out there, I want to see him and how, if he's able to kick those field goals and without any issues.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. You want to feel good about it. You want to feel comfortable. And then, like, it's also like, what if he is struggling behind closed doors in May? Or what if he's struggling in front of the media in middle of June? Maybe you add another kicker to the competition before training camp, and you see more names pop up. That tells you that kid is not doing too well. So, it's not the most talked about storyline, but it's definitely a big part, and you got to keep tabs on it because we saw how much of an issue special teams was a year ago for the Rams.
Yeah, and talking about those special teams, that it goes into my next question, and that's how will special teams coordinator experiment with strategies for the new kickoff rule? And I was able to kind of gather some information on this, so let me go through this real quick, Gilbert. Hopefully, we don't lose you here. Rams plan to use the kicker to kick off. So you brought up a name, Harrison Butker. The Chiefs announced they're going to use their safety read to on kickoffs. And so everybody's going to strategize differently, Gilbert, as we're starting to see from everybody's mini camp. So, but the as for the Rams here, they plan to use Cardi to as their kickoff because they want ball placement and precision. They will also use offensive and defensive concepts to run schemes such as gap, zone, trap. So pretty much they're going to be running offensive of plays as kickoff returns. So that's kind of cool. The kicker will be asked to be a golfer pretty much out there, Gilbert, because they're going to be using different clubs to kick off. This includes, putting some spin on the ball, chipping it, and even drop kicking it. So, and then much of the work will come during joint practice and preseason because of the non-contact rules and during OTAs. So there's also that. So in terms of this question has kind of been answered for me, but I still want to see what they do even without non-contact, during OTAs. What says you?
Yeah, I find it funny that the coaches who are talking about creativity and they're going to try this and experiment with that, I think they're bluffing because they want to be in your head when you play that team. Like, oh, they might not use Butker, they might do this, or they might do
Right.
that. What are we expecting for this trick? You're not gonna reveal it. I'm still here and I'll there. I'm still there.
And we lost Gilbert again. So all right, so let me continue on here in terms of how Chase Blackburn is the special teams coordinator. Gilbert, are you able to hear me? Are you able to talk? You let me
I
know.
got you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious about people who are saying too many things to the media because it's all about mind games, and I don't know if I believe some of this creativity, but it does offer room for experiment, and I want to see what Chase Blackburn does for his team. And maybe it's, I remember, I think it was Fossil from the Cowboys saying like it's not gonna be that much different, like, to be honest. So maybe it's more of that. But it's just funny seeing how different teams are either talking about it or not, or trying to experiment. But honestly, I can't wait to go to a practice and see how they do it, because I was at a Chargers practice not too long ago, and I was wondering, okay, I saw the rule, if you kick the ball into the end zone through the air, that you go to the 40-yard line. You don't want to do
Right.
that. But if you bounce it or it rolls into the end zone, then I think you still start at the 25 or 30. I'm not
Yes.
exactly
Yeah.
sure,
25.
something there. 25. So there's teams are going to try to bounce it and get it through. And I was seeing the practice to see if they're going to try it. So, I want to see how teams get creative. So like you mentioned, the spin on it, like you want to have your kicker, right, who knows how
Right.
to kind of control where the ball is going, accuracy, what type of kick. So to hear Justin Reed doing that, you kind of lose that element. You want to have maybe some, what if you see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle there, or whatever, you're trying to get the ball away from this guy. Or, like, not every team's going to have a speed demon or two of them. So maybe there's one of the lesser of the two. So you try to kick the ball their direction. And that requires like a lot of, accuracy and effort. So people are talking right now, and I can't wait for the games to show up, because I bet you once the games roll around, it's gonna be the same thing. It won't be that exciting until maybe like a playoff season, or the playoff push, where the creativity has to show. You want to catch people by surprise and things like that.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, what, one of the things that I thought was, the reason we're getting this is because, in the Super Bowl, you saw all the, kickoffs going into the end zone, and they wanted to eliminate that. So in terms of what we might see, I like what you're saying, because in the preseason is not somewhere where we might see it. I think it's going to be during joint practices. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on, especially during training camp and OTAs. It looks like we're losing Gilbert once again, but I'll try to keep this ship going here. Moving on to the next thing that we have. How quickly does the new look secondary mesh? And I think part of it has to do with the fact that this secondary, we've already heard in terms of, I had a question here from Daniel Calderon. It says, how is our new DC looking? And so far, um, from what I've heard from him, is that he's gonna move some guys around. It sounds like Kobe Durant is gonna move outside. Part of the problem as well has to do with uh, Trey White not being ready, and so they're having to use Kobe Durant on the outside. You're also seeing um, the Williams being played outside. So right now they don't have a guy at nickel in terms of who they're going to play as their star guy, their star role in the nickel. You've seen guys like Darion Kendrick. You've seen guys like Russ Yeast. That's somebody that the new DC Chris Shula has talked about in terms of that he has really liked what he's seen from Russ Yeast. So that'll be somebody. Quinton Lake, someone who was on with us during the Super Bowl radio role. That's somebody to kind of keep an eye on as well. What is his role going to be? And then we have Steve on saying Gilbert needs to do the podcast from Starbucks so he gets a better Wi-Fi options there, Gilbert, as he joins us. So there you go, Steve on
That's a
putting
good
you
one,
on blast.
Steve. I gotta take my equipment though. Like, we have this microphone and all the lights. Imagine, me showing up like that. It's like
Yeah,
an influencer.
I've seen people at Starbucks doing that. So why not, Gilbert? But how quickly does the new look secondary mesh, Gilbert?
So you got a couple of veterans and a familiar face in Darius Williams. You have Tre'Davious White, Cam Curl, also a veteran, but it's gonna take some time because they are new to each other. Obviously Darius Williams knows the Rams, but it's a new DC. I'm pretty sure Chris Shula was around when he was around, so maybe it won't take them too long. But it's also like they're older players. Has age caught up to them, or can you catch up to the scheme? Things like this. These are all unknowns here, so it could take some time. You mentioning that Kobe Durant could play on the outside. Maybe that's what he needs to do well. I know he started his career as a slot cornerback. You know, so we'll see. And we also have Russ Yeast and Quentin Lake. So competition is always good. And you have a new DC, you got new players. That's going to be an area you want to keep tabs on for mini camp and training camp, because there's going to be battles and competitions and people fighting for snaps and jobs. And so, you know, Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams and Cam Crow were the big signings, but they also drafted that player from Miami too. So all the competition. I don't think anybody has a guaranteed spot or to start. Even if you're trade Tre'Davious White, because you got to prove you can stay healthy. So a lot of people have things to prove, and that's actually going to be a very feisty competition. For corner and safety.
Yeah, there you got a lot of guys. Like I said, I was saying Trey White is in play, so a lot you're seeing Kobe Durant getting most of the snaps during OTAs right now. Chris Shula came out and said that he's really liked Russ Yeast at the star position there. They kind of
Mm.
been liking what he's been doing. So it'll be interesting to see what and how they play some of those safeties as you talked about. All right, Gilbert, next last one here that I have for you. Can the Rams stay relatively healthy throughout camp? We know how important that is, and we've already seen Ernest Jones is not practicing, Rob Havenstein's not practicing. You also have Kyron Williams not practicing. Can they get through this camp healthy? I think it's going to be huge. We saw 2 years ago when they had the bad season, it was riddled with injuries. Last season, they were able to stay healthy. Um, I think for them, I think it's huge for them to stay healthy throughout camp.
Yeah, especially Kyron Williams. And I when I saw that the Rams posted a tweet or whatever you want to call it, X post of Kyron Williams out on the practice field, that's a good sign because a lot of times coaches say, "Don't worry about it. Don't. It's gonna be fine." It's kind of like, do we believe you? Do we not? And obviously, when you have proof on the field, Kyron Williams was out there. That's huge. So, you know, you're gonna get that a lot. People are gonna get dinged up. Coaches don't have to forcefully tell you who's on the injury report, who's not until the season starts week 1. So it's always tricky to figure out who's healthy, who's not. But you want to have the next man up mentality, and like you mentioned, Kobe Durant could maybe take advantage of that. So it's gonna be countless opportunities for everybody, but also if you're looking from the outside, it's gonna require patience because you won't see everybody together for a while. It sometimes is rare, but hey, if you opening a camp with everybody who's supposed to be a starter and you have 11 on 11 in training camp and is your best of your best, that's a good thing to have. But obviously, it's the NFL, it's a grueling sport, it's tough. But you don't want to have those injuries that just take you out for the whole season or a couple months. You want to come out clean, a couple bruises and bumps here, but it's going to be okay. That's going to they won't
And we lost.
training.
Did we lose Gilbert again? We lost. Yeah, we lost Gilbert again there. We'll get him right back on here and we'll go through your questions. I'll ask him your questions here. But in terms of can the Rams stay relatively healthy throughout camp, I think it's going to be a huge thing for the Rams to stay healthy here. As we try to get Gilbert back on the show here, and we'll close out with your questions. But in terms of staying healthy, I think it's very important, especially for the first couple months. And I think part of the thing with the Rams is that we've seen this in the past under Sean McVay. They're not going to play any of their starters during preseason. We know that, and so it's trying to keep them healthy through OTAs. Then you have training camp. Training camp it comes up in about a month. So going through training camp, keeping some of those guys healthy. I think the important part of the off season for the Rams is going to be keeping a lot of these players healthy um during the joint practices that they're going to have with I think the Cowboys, and they're having them with another team. I need to check that as well, but I think that's where it becomes a huge priority for the Rams to stay relatively healthy throughout camp, because we saw, like I pointed out earlier, with the Rams 2 years ago, their offensive line got decimated with injuries. You also had Matthew Stafford get injured. You had the running backs get injured, and so it was tough sledding 2 years ago. Last season, part of the reason they were able to get to 10 wins was because they stayed healthy for most of the season. They also got a bit lucky there with Matthew Stafford getting hurt right around the bye week, so he was able to get 3 weeks off to heal his injury that he got against the Cowboys. And so for the Rams, it's going to depend on staying healthy. I think the first step is to do so during training camp and then join practices. And we know during the preseason, we're not going to see any of the starters. And so for them, that's a huge thing to be able. For me, that's what it comes down to. As we've seen, if the Rams are fully healthy, they can compete with anybody in this league, and so that's going to be a big thing for me. I think that's the biggest storyline for me as we head into mandatory mini camp. And Gilbert, one last thing here. I'm just going to go right through these questions. We have AMS says, do you see the Rams making a couple more roster moves before training camp?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't know about the big names. Obviously you still got the Justin Simmons and Stephon Gilmore of the world. A couple wide receivers are out there. Hunter Renfrow, Michael Thomas. I'm trying to think of other free agents out there, but I think for the most part, I think you're set. Maybe I think I saw a comment we'll get to right now. You got Robinson as a wide receiver, so you're kind of set at wide receiver. You're set in a lot of good places. The draft went well for them, so I think this might be their crew here. But yeah, maybe a kicker if they don't do too well.
Yeah, we'll see. And then he said something our massive offensive line. So, and I think that's going to be a key. I think that's what he wanted to. AMS was talking about, and that's a storyline for him. Michael Armenta says, "What's happening, fellas? We've been having some technical difficulties today, Michael, but we're doing good. We're just trying to." Push on through, and then we have Steve on here. I'll get to this. It says fraps are pretty refreshing, Gilbert. Just
Yeah,
saying, just
it's
talking
it's hot
about,
out here,
yeah,
Steve. I've been moving for the past 4 days. I'm sweating every day, so maybe I need to take a break and do. If the issues don't get fixed, you might see the next House of Horns episode from the Starbucks here. Maybe
there
maybe they
you
could
go. See,
maybe get a sponsorship or
Well,
something.
yeah, we need a coffee shop sponsorship, especially with the amount of coffee I drink. So here we go. It says, Big Ron Mass says, I think D Rob will be the breakout player this year. What do you think? There he
So
is. The
my
Marcus. Uh
yeah,
huh.
my pet peeve is like I don't like to make anybody a breakout player after 3 seasons. Either you're a star or you're not. So
Yes.
he's been around for a minute, but how about he could be, you know, an underrated playmaker because we always forget about him. We always say Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua, all the new tight ends that they added, Jonah Jackson, Kyron Williams, and we're like, actually, they're actually okay at wide receiver. You got Demarcus Robinson, and you still got Tutu out there, so. He could be somebody you're overlooking that we forgot about how well he played last year, but breakout player, I think that ship has sailed. When you're a veteran, I think we know who you are.
Yeah, and I was gonna say for me it would be Davis Allen if I'm the tight end. I mean, I think he's someone that you can see as a breakout guy. We saw him show flashes last season after what's his name went down. I'm like blanking on the
Oh,
tight ends.
Tyler Higbee.
Higbee, yeah, Tyler Higbee went down. We saw some of his flashes, and
Yeah,
I've also heard great things about Parkinson. He looks the part. It looks like he's gonna be more of a blocker. That's why I really like what they can do with Allen, especially it'll be interesting. I know they run 11 personnel, but it would be nice to see them run some 12 personnel, especially with the blocking scheme that they want to, they especially with that massive offensive line they have. So, but
that's a
we'll
good
see
one
what.
though.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he's another underrated player like Davis Allen. Like he had some good flashes, and I'm like nobody's talking about the kid.
yeah.
He's going to his second season. Yeah, he didn't play that much, but when he got his opportunities, he made the most of them. So that's a good maybe breakout player. And you talking about Russ Yeast maybe being the star player, he's going into year 3. That fits my criteria for breakout player. It's 3 years or less. He could
Yes.
be another one maybe.
Yeah, and we'll get to it. We have a lot more to get into this off season, Gilbert. We're just in the phase 3. We're not even at mandatory mini camp. You'll be there next week. We'll have Wi-Fi issues fixed hopefully by next week. And we're expecting, crossing our fingers. I've asked Gilbert to get me another Rams beat reporter. So he's been good at getting us guests. So hopefully you get us another guest for next week, Gilbert, and your Wi-Fi is fully fixed. But
Yeah.
go
This
ahead,
this this
Gilbert.
is more of a show to show our faces. We were gone for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Obviously I've been moving and you were in Oklahoma and we kind of just been doing things that kept us away for 2 weeks. So I was like, maybe we just wait till mini camp because it'll be better. And we're like, nah, it's been a little too long. Let's just at least show our faces. So to have Wi-Fi issues, today was the episode. So we appreciate everybody showing up. Michael, Daniel, Steve, Big Ron, AMS. Thank you for the patience, but we're gonna have a better show next week. And a quick update. I wanted to announce the Puka Nakua jersey giveaway winner because nobody claimed it. I forgot the guy's name. That's how long it's been, but nobody claimed it, and I wanted to wait for a better show. This show where I'm like, don't I look like a hostage here with no backdrop, no pictures in the background, terrible Wi-Fi. I'm all sweaty from moving in. It's hot over here. I got to figure out the AC system or whatever. So I'm gonna save it for next week. It's gonna be a better show
Yeah.
to officially kick off the off season.
And Stevan agrees. Football comment. I think David Silence will bust out. So that's my pick. We'll see what happens. But yeah, just thank you guys for we've gotten a bunch of new subscribers because uh uh we've gotten a lot of subscribers thanks to the videos and the people you've been able to get us. The video with Eric Williams last week really blew up, and we really appreciate it. It's been awesome to see all the feedback. Even Steve out here clowning on Gilbert and says, "Damn, Victor and I think alike." So there you go. Hopefully
Yep.
maybe
Coffee
Steve
cup.
gets the jersey and I can. He said he give it to me so I can wear it on the show here. So I'd be more than glad to wear that Puka Nakua jersey. So, but yeah, Gilbert, thanks. We made it work. And part of it too was because of that. I mean, I was really appreciative of the fact that people really were checking out that video, and I just even with the choppy Wi-Fi today, I really wanted it to work because I wanted to be, as you said, I wanted to show our faces and just say thank you to everybody. Everybody's been awesome with their time and checking out the video. So awesome. But Gilbert, go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, so stay tuned for next week. Mandatory mini camp episode. I'll be out there, so you get some boots on the ground observations from me, and hopefully some better Wi-Fi. And I will ask somebody who covers the team on a daily basis. I'll ask them in person. You can't say no to me in person, right? To jump on the show. So stay tuned for that. I'll most likely be next Wednesday. I know today is Thursday. We usually do it on Wednesday, but with all the moving, we had to move it. No, again, moving to the following day. So random show on a Thursday, but we want to say hello. Hopefully, everybody's doing well. We appreciate all supporters here at House of Horns, Combos on the Beat. Shout out to you, Delbert. You made it there with a comment. A little late, but hey, you missed all the Wi-Fi issues, but you don't want to see my face anyway. You want to see Victor's face. So check back the replay, watch the show, comment, bash on my Wi-Fi. Tell me where to go to get coffee recommendations and get better
There we go.
Wi-Fi. I don't want to go to Starbucks. Everybody go to Starbucks. So
Yes.
give me something different here. I need coffee shop recommendations at my new location. I'm near Cerritos. If you know something, let me know. But yeah, I'm rambling here. Next week's show will be much better. But Victor, anything else or that time to go? Because I think you did too
No,
many.
that's it. Like, I mean, we're in that midst of time where there's not a lot going on. So, we'll get some more content going. You'll be at mandatory minicamp. Then after that, everybody's gone for 6 weeks, it seems like. So, but you also
Can't
have
wait.
Mike Armenta who says he wants that jersey, bro. So
Hey, I
there
know,
we go.
Michael. I'm rooting for you, and I definitely
There.
uh,
And I think we lost Gilbert for one last time. But since with him, let's see, is he back? No. All right, I'm gonna close this out here. With that said, ya nos vamos. All right, guys, have a good one.